Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fight for Liberty Live. How have you all been? It's been a little while since we've done a live show. And you know what? I'm going to start off with kind of explaining where I've been and what's been going on since then. Uh, First of all, last time I did a live show, I was running for New York City Council. So thank you to everybody that supported me in that and donated and came out and volunteered, knocked on doors, did whatever they could to help out. Um, a very special thank you to a couple specific people, including Brianna Coyle and Gideon Kahan, who have both volunteered not only in the campaign but also for Fight for Liberty, helping me with the channel, with the website, with writing script, and it has been an awesome journey, and I've made a lot of really cool friends along the way. So, to give you an update, the campaign, um, obviously unsuccessful in terms of actually winning. We ended up with about 3.3% of the vote, which is the highest percentage a libertarian has gotten in New York City in recent years. And, I'm really proud of that. I got I like to tell people that I got more votes than people that I talked to, which I think is really important because that means that there were other people out there sharing news of my campaign and the ideas that we had, and people that I talk to other people, and that's what's really important. We're out here not trying to win for I wasn't trying to win for myself. I was just trying to spread the message of the Libertarian Party and what we can accomplish and what we stand for. And I think we did a good job at that. A lot of people that have bled blue their entire lives voted gold this year for the first time ever, and I'm proud of that. Not only for myself, but we had victories across the country for the Libertarian Party. Um, we had a lot of campaigns here in New York State, and we won a couple of those. We even got the district attorney in Broome County in an actual three-way race. There was Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and we won. Uh, we had another campaign in New York City for public advocate, and which also unfortunately unsuccessful. But Devin Balkine did a great job. He had some incredible help from other people within the party and even some people that had really never been a part of the Libertarian Party helping him out, standing on a street corner handing out flyers all day for him, especially like up on the Upper East Side. They're really focusing on kind of Republican-ish districts that, you know, we all know Republicans are never going to win in New York City unless you're in Staten Island or very South Brooklyn. You don't have a chance as a red in New York City. So why not switch something up? Vote for a party that's clearly not bought out by corporate media or large corporations or big money in their interests, but a party that represents the actual people of New York City. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to work this year and doing even a lot more work next year. And yeah, we're going to turn this country gold eventually. But after the campaign, actually just before the campaign ended, I got my laptop stolen. So that was one of the main reasons why I haven't produced much content. Uh, I was in the process of moving, and the movers took it right out of one of the boxes. So I am working off of a loaner from a wonderful friend of mine, and have been I've been using this for a couple of months, and so we're finally back up and running. I was able to update the website, take off the events tab that doesn't have anything on it anymore because we're all in quarantine. Update other pieces of it. So I'm excited to say that we are back almost in full swing, and From there, as soon as my election was over, actually, I started working for another campaign. I was working for presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard, which I know a lot of my fans and friends are going to have mixed feelings about that, but I was very happy to get to work with her and her team, and I learned a lot about how to run a campaign, um, how to do a lot of organization, how to work with large bodies of volunteers. And honestly, yes, I do disagree with her on some policy points, but she's a wonderful person, and I really enjoyed my time working for her. When I first got up there, I was just, volunteering. I was building signs and putting them up and knocking on doors, but eventually I became the deputy volunteer coordinator for New Hampshire and got to work with a couple hundred people around the state that were fired up about changing how we do politics and the kind of people that we have in office, and you know, adamant about ending the wars and destroying the military industrial complex and fixing our criminal justice system, ending this terrible war on drugs. You know, it was a lot to agree on, and I am very pleased to say that I got to meet some of my closest friends and some of the best people I've ever known on that campaign. Um, and then from New Hampshire, after that primary was over, they shipped me out to Utah, Salt Lake City, where I was basically doing the same thing there, but a little bit more events coordination as well. Uh, Helped set up some of um, the town halls that we did there, and yeah, it was an awesome experience. I got to really learn a lot, got to meet some really incredible people, and um, now I am back home in upstate New York. I was just kind of coming here as a pit stop as everything was winding down. Wanted to go home and see my folks, and then this coronavirus stuff started, and I'm not going back to New York City right now, especially because the job market is quite volatile, and we're safe up here, and I am very thankful that my old bedroom was still here, and uh, I actually had a place to go. I know a lot of people were not as lucky as I was to be able to find shelter and rest, and I'm very thankful for that. And it's given me a lot of free time to, as I've already said a couple of times, to get this up and running, fix the website, everything like that, start writing scripts, start reaching out to people that I haven't talked to in a while. So yeah, without further ado, um, let's kind of talk about a little bit what Fight for Liberty is and what we're going to be doing going forward. So this was supposed to be Wednesday night. Most of you know that it got postponed, and we were having some technical difficulties Wednesday night. Apparently, nobody could hear me. Um, and we figured out what was going on with that. But this will be a weekly show on Wednesday nights from I believe we decided 7 to 9, but it might honestly, the times might change a little bit week to week depending on the availability of my guests. But it will always be on Wednesday night. Fight for Liberty Live right here on this Facebook page, and pretty soon will also be on my Twitter and YouTube channels live. But all these videos will go up to all of my social media platforms as soon as they are over, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, uh, and I have people advising me on new and upcoming social media platforms to try to work off of, and so I will let you all know if there are other places to watch this. Because honestly, I do hate giving ad revenue to Google and Mark Zuckerberg. So we are trying to figure out a way to kind of use Facebook and YouTube as little as possible while still, engaging them as the largest platforms currently. Um, so next Wednesday, I will be having Nate Cole on as a guest. He is the vice chair of the Erie County Libertarian Party and a good friend of mine. And the following week, we'll have Sean Hannon and Steve Minot, who are the chair and vice chair of the Onondaga County Libertarian Party. So we're kind of sweeping through upstate and then down into the city, hopefully in a couple of weeks with some of the party officials down there. But we will have candidates on. We will have um, random people in politics, lobbyists, and activists, and a whole slew of guests. So make sure you tune in every Wednesday night for Fight for Liberty Live. And then between those shows, we will be putting out what I like to call midweek shorts. So they're going to be like 10 to 20-minute videos that'll come up on my YouTube and Facebook and everything else, where we will be delving deeper into different policy issues, different current events, specific elected officials, and the good and or bad that they're doing in Washington or Albany or wherever they are. Um, and just trying, my goal is to give a clear and unbiased kind of review of what's going on in politics um, with the sole focus on liberty and whether or not what's going on is good or bad for your personal and civil liberties. Right now with the coronavirus going on, we're watching our civil liberties get shredded on a daily occurrence. We have people just being pulled over for no reason and asked for proof of why they should be on the road. We have people getting taken out of their homes. We have people getting arrested for going to a park with their daughter. Um, it is getting dire out there. Um, and meanwhile, we're dumping trillions of tax dollars into corporate bailouts, and this is a tough time in our country, and I think we will look back on it, and hopefully we can look back on this in 5, 10 years and say, I'm glad that we kept it together, that we fought for our liberties, that we did not let our government take everything from us just because we were scared. I don't know if that's what we're going to be able to say because it's not looking like that currently, but people are fighting it. People are speaking up for themselves and for others. And um, in some ways, I couldn't be prouder of the men and women that I work with and that I'm associated with, and that are just out here fighting for you and for me on a daily basis. Uh, and then the other main thing that we are doing as a team here for Fight for Liberty is I started the hashtag a while ago, hashtag elect the revolution. And we made stickers, and if you wander around New York City, you might see them. Uh, but I've really been working on kind of getting that as more of an organized uh, system. So not only is there just a hashtag that me and a couple dozen other people are using on various social medias, um, there's a tab on my website, and actually I can show you kind of what it looks like. Here we go. So yeah, this is the Elect the Revolution tab. Um, as you can see, a little bit of a description, and then there are various uh, tabs. So far, there are only the two of them, or the three of them, I mean. Uh, but it's going to continue. We'll be adding new stuff there regularly, probably producing a video each time, uh, and kind of talking about what's going on in Washington and again, or Albany or New York City or wherever the things are going, where specific elected officials are voting against your civil liberties. And I think that the lack of transparency in our political system has greatly added to the downfall of democracy in our country. And people vote based off of ads or um, town hall speeches and what CNN or Fox News says about the people that they're voting for, and not very many people are voting based on how their representatives vote. That I think is the most important thing is what are you actually doing? I don't really care what you say you're going to do or what you say you did, but what have you done for me and how are you representing my best interests and the best interests of the rest of your constituents? So currently, like I showed you, there are three tabs up there. The first one is the new jails bill in New York City. In New York City, they just voted to spend up to $11 billion on building four new jails in New York City. And meanwhile, like NYCHA doesn't have heat. You know, if you're from New York City or you've ever been there, you know that there are so many better things that we could be spending $11 billion on. Or maybe just don't spend $11 billion because we don't really have it. We're in a deficit currently, and we have been for quite a while, as most of the country is. And yeah, they are, rather than spending our tax dollars to help the country, we're spending it to further lock people up and take away people's rights and liberty. And I can't stand for that. So we have in on the website a description of the bill that got passed and everybody that voted for it and a link to their city council site. So you can see exactly who voted for this and whether or not they are your elected official, and then look up and see if somebody else is running against them. Because we need to get these kinds of people out of there. The kind of people that are going to spend your tax dollars to lock people up rather than to help people are not the people that we need in office anymore. And so much of the country, whether you live in a red district or a blue district or a small town or a big city, incumbents win consistently all the time. And not all the time, sorry, most of the time. Um, and that's a problem. We have people that have been elected for 30, 40 years just doing the same stuff over and over and over again, and people just keep voting for them because they recognize the name and they don't understand exactly what these people are doing while they're in office. And so we are highly encouraging the removal of those incumbents. And you know, I I can't stress this enough that that is the main way that we fix this problem is getting rid of those people. Um, I believe, hence the hashtag, that we can revolt and fix our country and our political system without shooting a single weapon, without burning anything, without building any guillotines. Just go out and vote and actually vote and vote against these terrible, corrupt people. The second portion on our website for Elect the Revolution is one that there actually already is a video about on my YouTube channel, and that was the marijuana decriminalization bill that we passed in Albany last year. It decriminalized it. It didn't legalize it. We still can't buy or sell it or even have it legally, but it's no longer a criminal offense as long as you have less than 2 ounces. It's just a ticket. It's like a speeding ticket. and it'll get confiscated. Um, you can still get thoroughly harassed for it, but most likely you don't end up in handcuffs or in a jail cell because of a plant. And so it's a very small victory, but it is a step in the correct direction. But it narrowly passed in Albany. There were plenty of people that voted against it, including people that got up onto the floor of the Assembly and the Senate speaking about how we can't be wiping people's criminal records for this. They committed a crime and they deserve to rot in jail for this. And I cannot express enough just how terrible of a person you have to be to not only think that smoking is somehow this evil, terrible thing, but also that people deserve to rot in jail for years, sometimes decades, just for having a plant that helps them get through their life. Uh, you have to be just, I can't imagine what goes through those kinds of people's minds. But the thing is, I do know what's going through their mind. This is a large revenue source for New York State. New York State lost a lot of money by doing this because we make a lot of money off of fining people for having a plant. And that's the thing, we still are fining them. If you have less than an ounce, you're still paying a couple $100 for having a plant in your possession. Um, but again, it is a step in the right direction, but a lot of people voted against it, and um, yeah, 23 of our senators voted against it. And so there is also a list of them. I can show you on my phone, kind of, sort of. We've got, maybe not, that screen isn't going to show up at all. Um, yeah, and again, there is a video on my YouTube channel where I actually name them all off. Uh, and talk about where they're from and the ins and outs of the bill. And again, on the Elect the Revolution tab on the website, there is there's a summary and description of the bill, basically copied straight from the state Senate website. So you know exactly what you're reading, exactly what they voted for and against, and then who voted against it. And again, those names are links to their page so you can tell where their district is, whether or not they are your elected official, and whether or not it's up to you whether or not they get elected. If we get more people fired up for this, if we spread the word that this is a possibility, that we don't just have to be complacent with the people that are ruling over us, that we can elect representatives and not rulers. And I really do believe that we will see a change in our country and in the world. And I'm holding out for that, and I am looking forward to that. And I hope that more people can see that this is possible and that we can get this done. And last but not least, the newest addition to our electoral revolution is one that I think is even a little bit more cut and dry. Currently, there are 4 senators under investigation for insider trading. They were part of a intelligence briefing that warned them about what the dangers of the coronavirus might be. And rather than helping us get where we need to be, starting to work on tests and getting ventilators and all of the other things that we are short on and don't have access to and are getting railroaded by the FDA and other federal branches of the government, where they're actually killing people. These people decided to go look out for their own financial best interests and commit a crime called insider trading and dump, in some cases, millions of dollars in stocks to help protect their investments during this crisis rather than protect their constituents. So those four senators are Dianne Feinstein, who sold off about a half a million to a million. Their numbers are a little bit not exact in some of these. And her husband sold off almost $5 million in stocks. Uh, she, of course, is claiming that she uh, didn't know what her financial advisor was doing, but this is a very unusual trading practice for her and her husband. And if you know stocks in general, most people don't just dump $5 million worth of stocks one random afternoon. Uh, the Another senator, she's the only Democrat on the list, which I think is kind of interesting that this is a bipartisan issue. But the other one was Richard Burr, who sold about $1.5 million in stocks, and he's not even throwing up the financial advisor defense, which the other three senators all are. I think his is the most interesting because he is just saying that he didn't use his proprietary knowledge and that he was going off of what MSNBC told him. And that he just watched the news accurately enough to make this financial decision before most of the rest of the country knew what was going on when he was in a meeting that and knew what the financial ramifications of this crisis were going to be and just yeah he's not even really trying. In fact, I can read you off a small bit of his statement. Bear with me 30 seconds. Um, yeah, Burr said in his prepared statement, I relied solely on public news reports to guide my decisions regarding the sale of stocks on February 13th. Uh, Specifically, I closely followed CNBC's daily health and science reporting out of its Asia bureaus at the time. Understanding the assumption many could make in hindsight, however, I spoke this morning with the chairman of the Senate Ethics Committee and asked him to open a complete review of the matter with full transparency. So he's trying to go the transparent route, and I do have to say I kind of sort of respect that he started the process. But this is just a straw man argument of I knew what was going on, but I waited until the news told me some little detail that I just was somehow smarter than the rest of the country in making this decision and dumped over $1.5 million in stocks one afternoon. The other very interesting piece of this puzzle is that Burr was one of the most vehement opponents of the Stock Act in 2012, which is what makes this illegal. Until 2012, insider trading was a crime for most of the country, but uh, it did not carry over to our elected officials. Um, they were able to learn things in their committees or in their hearings or whatever they do in Congress and go trade stocks based on that. And so finally in 2012, we made that illegal. And Richard Burr was very, very against that. In fact, he called it ludicrous and insane. But we did pass the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. And so, therefore, what these four senators did could be, they're all still under investigation. Nobody's been indicted yet, but it's illegal now. Next up on the list is one of the more interesting ones, and that's Kelly Loeffler, who was actually appointed to the Senate. She's never been democratically elected. And she used to be an executive for the International Exchange, and her husband is the chair of the New York Stock Exchange. And between the two of them, they sold off a little over $20 million in stocks before most of the country knew what was going on here. Um, and I just can't see where that isn't a conflict of interest, being married to the highest ranking official in the New York Stock Exchange, and committing more insider trading. Um, and the last but not least was James Inhofe, who dumped about $500,000 in stocks. There isn't a whole lot of cool backstory to him. He just was also in the room and also dumped stocks before this went public. Um, Again, they're all still under investigation. Nobody's been indicted. Maybe they can prove their innocence, but regardless of what's going on, um, these people need to be out. Um, there are plenty of other reasons to put these before on the list for elect the revolution, and this, I think, is just a final nail in the coffin. They should not be ignoring the public health crisis just to and focusing on their own financial interests, which is why I and plenty of other people in Washington are working on reissuing or resubmitting the bill. Um, the the Ban Conflicted Trading Act, um, which would basically make it illegal for elected members of Congress to participate in the stock market directly, buying and selling individual stocks. And there will be a video about that on the YouTube channel within the next week or so. I'm still reading through it. The bill is quite large, and I do not want to give you guys an incomplete assessment. But at face value and what I've looked at it so far, I heavily support this bill. Uh, people don't get elected to get rich. That is not the point of being an elected official. You are a public servant, the same as a teacher or a fireman. Uh, if you go into this career choice, you should not be looking out for your own financial gain as a number one issue. And I think we can see time and time and time again that that is what most of our elected officials are doing. You look at Pete Buttigieg, this primary. He started out as such a progressive powerhouse. Uh, could have been the first gay president. A lot of people were calling him the gay Obama. He was, for good reason, because he was just as fake. Um, but when he announced, he was for Medicare for all, he was for ending the wars, he was almost a Bernie guy. In fact, he was a big fan of Bernie Sanders going into it. And then as you watched his campaign dollars go up, his credibility went down exponentially, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, a couple $1 million from Big Pharma. Medicare for all isn't going to work. A couple $1 million from the military industrial complex. Oh, maybe we don't actually end all the wars. And that's when he started going hard about his military service, and that as a soldier he knows how important war is. And I, we've watched money corrupt politicians constantly over and over and over and over again. And I don't think that we will ever have true representation in Washington until we get money out of politics. And so that is what they are trying to achieve here with S 1393, the bill to prohibit members of Congress from purchasing or selling certain investments and for other purposes. Um, so yeah, you can expect a video about that here pretty soon. a little bit more in depth. But you can go onto the website currently, www.fightforliberty.com/elect the revolution, and you can read up on the marijuana bill, the new jails bill, or this insider trading deal. Um, and again, find out if these are your representatives and your elected officials, because if that's the case, um, you can help us. You can help us get rid of this. You can help us fix this problem. And I am I'm really looking forward to possibility of getting some meaningful change here in our country. I will be running again. I will be pushing other candidates who are running against corrupt incumbents, or the very few candidates that are running for reelection that are actually out there speaking for your best interests. And although I am a libertarian, I am going to be very unbiased when it comes to who I actually work with and who comes on the show, and who I throw up there. If I believe, to the best of my knowledge, that they are working for the best interests of their constituents, that is what it is about. Whether or not they're trying to end the Fed or, um, disband the IRS, like I would like to see happen, that's not what's most important to me. And this show is about liberty, not libertarianism. Um, and so, we'll hear from DSA members and anarchists and everybody in between, because I, the DSA is not our enemy, and the anarchists aren't your enemy, and the people in between. We need to stop bickering amongst ourselves, because it is not the left versus the right. It is the establishment versus the people, and we can win that war. We have the numbers, and so let's prove that. Let's show them that we can win, that we are willing to win, that we are willing to come out in force to elect people that care about us and our best interests, and that we will not stand for corrupt politicians any longer. So, um, come and help us out. If you want to get involved, if you want to help, if you have a video suggestion that or a bill that you want to know more about, please message me on Facebook or send me an email at info@fightforliberty.com. Uh, sh- Shoot, yeah. I'd love to know what you guys would want to hear me talk about. What maybe you don't fully understand or want to hear a different opinion of. If you have somebody that you think would be great on the show, uh, send me again a Facebook message or an email. Half of you guys have my number. Shoot me a text, and I would love to hear from a multitude of different people from every walk of life. Before we had elected officials on the show, and we had, my sister came on the show to talk about what's going on in her industry of professional. Um, Cosmetology, and the process of getting a business up and running in this kind of ridiculous economic system. We'll be hearing from a lot of different kinds of people. Uh, and so if you have somebody that you would want me to reach out to and interview, I'd love to hear it. Uh, if you have a politician that you think needs to be added to the elect the revolution because they are doing some really shady stuff, let me know. I would love to work with you on that. This is a movement. This isn't me sitting in front of a camera just preaching to people. That is not what I want this to be in any way, shape, or form. This is a movement that requires a multitude of people, and very much look forward uh, to working with you guys and getting this movement up and running. That being said, if you're watching right now live and you have any questions about what's going on, please comment. Um, we're gonna we can answer a couple of questions about what's going on and what's been going on or what we plan to do in the future. Um, Comments? No? Okay. Nobody's got a question so far. Maybe I did a good job at explaining things. That would kind of be a first. Um, but while we still have a little bit of time left for the show, let's talk about our presidential election. Um, it's it's down to two in the major parties. It will be Trump v. Biden, and I couldn't think of a worse pairing, or other than the last one. I will say people might disagree with this. I would rather have President Joe Biden than President Hillary Clinton. Lesser of two evils. As much I do not vote by that kind of a mindset, but I do think that Joe is the lesser of two evils between those two. Joe just has dementia. Hillary is a murderer. So definitely comparing apples and oranges there, I think, or well, more like comparing a moldy apple and a pile of dog shit. But uh, they're not they're not the same. Trump Trump is Trump. We all kind of know what to expect there. We know Biden's history of racism and pedophilia and criminal justice, just criminal injustice, really is the best way to talk about that. Uh, I, I'm very sad for our country, but I think that means that maybe, just maybe, um, after watching the lesser of two evils conversation almost destroy our country 4 years ago, that maybe people wake up and see third party voting as a legitimate option. And maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I will continue to support third party as I always have. Um, and write-ins still exist. If you're a Bernie bro, write him in November. Joe Biden does not deserve your vote just because he's the same color as the candidate you like. That it goes for people that supported Tulsi Gabbard or Marianne Williamson or Andrew Yang or even Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. And you know the person that wins the primary does not just automatically win your vote. You decide who you vote for. And if you're a Bernie bro, m- both major third party candidates are going to be more up your alley than Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I can guarantee you that. Um, Howie Hawkins is running again under the Green Party, who, again, somebody that I don't agree with hardcore on a lot of policy, but he is a good person. He is a representative and not a ruler. He has done a lot in the political world, even though he hasn't really won an election, but he has rallied people behind him to change policy in Albany that most people haven't succeeded like that, especially not third parties. Um, the Libertarian uh, primary is still in full swing. We have a variety of candidates. Participate in that. Become a member and vote in the convention. Help us get a good other option. Biden versus Trump does not have to be the only conversation. We have some very interesting characters running in the Libertarian nomination. If you think that this political system is a joke, which it kind of is, there's a really interesting guy named Vermin Supreme who, yes, he wears a boot on his head half the time, but speaks a lot of truth and calls it like it is, and it's a joke. Uh, We have people that are running almost completely on an anti-war platform, like Jacob Hornberger. Um, if you're a full-blown anarchist and you want the federal government gone, Adam Kokesh is your man. His platform is day one, we get rid of the federal government. And I'm not an anarchist, so I don't support that. But I do heavily, heavily respect the fact that he is really the only person I've heard from that has a legitimate plan on how to do that, how to return power back to the states, how to keep a national kind of defense plan and a military together, and have the states work with each other without having such an overreaching federal government. Um, and again, not what I'm going to ever run on, but if you're watching this and that sounds up your alley, look him up. Um, there are plenty of other candidates who are not quite as extreme as those three. Ken Armstrong, Joe Jorgensen. I know I'm missing names. Mark Whitney, and I apologize if you're watching this and you're running for president and I forgot you. Um, the Libertarian primary has been crowded. It was worse than the Democratic primary, if you ask me. Fortunately, some people have already dropped out. Some of them I kind of liked. Some of them were good riddance. Some of them provided an interesting kind of outlook on things. I know that, and some of them were vehemently hated. Libertarian Party is interesting. Come join. Um, but I think the most interesting thing to talk about with just the major two-party system, the mainstream conversation here, is that Trump and Biden are both under investigation for sexual assault. They are both classified as vehemently racist by so many people. This is really the closest thing we've ever seen to two sides of the same coin. At least in 2016, we had, again, I hate her. She's evil, but Hillary had the woman thing working for her. Let's elect a woman, first woman president. Like that little bit, I think pushed her forward a lot. I know a lot of people that voted for her just because of that. And again, if that's your thing, go for it. All power to you. But if you voted for Hillary because she's a woman and woman empowerment, you can't vote for Biden. There is video evidence of him groping 9-year-olds in the middle of press conferences. That's not women empowerment. Not at all. So I think this is the most ridiculous race that we've seen. But I am very much looking forward to the debates. It's going to be like two toddlers arguing. If you've ever seen the video of the two kindergartners arguing about whether or not it's raining or sprinkling, I think that's going to be a perfect depiction of of what this debate's going to look like, and I'm kind of excited for a good laugh. Um, I still find it very interesting, though, that Barack Obama has yet to endorse anyone. Uh, Everybody kind of assumed that he would endorse Biden back when Biden actually needed the help. Now Biden's completely alone. He's really the only Democrat left. I believe that there might still be a couple of fringe people, but Obama's still holding back his endorsement. And I find that to be very, very interesting and a good indicator of just how untrustworthy and useless Joseph Biden really is. So we'll see what happens. This virus might cause them to just cancel the election completely. I wouldn't put it past Trump to say, "Oh, we can't risk it." Um, Guess I get another 4 years. That would be interesting, but we'll see. Um, until then, we all just get to talk about it. Um, so shoot me a message, comment if you on what you think about our choices, and we'll see what happens. It's gonna be an interesting, weird time. But I hope everybody is staying safe in this quarantine and social distancing time. Uh, my heart really goes out for the people that are falling on hard times because of this, whether they lost their job or are sick or family members are sick. I I went quite a while through this without really knowing anybody that had gotten personally affected by it. But now, a couple of my friends from New York City have tested positive. Some of them have had family members pass away because of it, and so um, my heart's really going out to these people, and I hope that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel soon. We kind of are on a economic and financial standpoint. The stock market is starting to correct a little bit, and investment experts are saying that we might be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm just, praying every day that that's true. Um, but it is a weird time. So please stay safe, stay free. Have a happy Good Friday and an Easter weekend if you partake and celebrate in those traditions. Maybe Zoom call your family for Easter dinner. I don't know. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be on a Zoom call for Easter brunch with a bunch of my friends. I'm looking forward to that. Some people that I haven't seen in 6 months plus. So looking at a computer screen isn't quite the same, but it's better than nothing. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, welcome to the fight.